All right. Okay, well, I know this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us, but let's give this a try. We've got some growing pains here, I think, as we move through. But at this point, why don't we call to order at 6:35? And, you know, due to our locations and everything else, we are going to obviously forego our normal Pledge of Allegiance, and we are suspending public comment at this point. We do have a link out there, so we do have some members, if you notice, that have dialed in, that are not panelists, that are listening in, which is great. So we certainly appreciate that and people being engaged. But as I said, we'll kind of work through this. If you have questions, you can either chat with Kat directly, or raise your hand. We can answer those as we go along. So why don't we, before we get to reports, why don't we go through some orders of business here? So this will be, and one other thing too. I'm sorry. One of the things that we do need to have happen here as we speak. So if you do begin speaking, we have been directed due to some of the directions we've been given from the state that if every time you speak, if you could state your name, excuse me, prior to speaking, so that we know who is talking, and then that goes on the record in the minutes as well. So I know that's a little piece of information, so if you don't, we'll probably remind you to do so just so we have that on record. So every time you speak, if you could just say who you are. I should have done that from the beginning, but again, this is Megan Guerrero giving comment from the beginning of the meeting, and we can move forward from there. So first order of business is actually to approve minutes. Kat, do we need to do this individually, or is it okay if you unmute all of us and we vote at once? What's appropriate here?
I can unmute and we'll take that vote.
Okay. All right, so if you could unmute all the voting members at this point, because I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the March 4th, 2020 minutes.
Motion.
Second. Mark Meehan. Second.
Chris Reagan made the motion. Sorry.
You got that, Kat? You good?
Yep.
All right, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And more importantly, I guess in this circumstance, all opposed? Okay, I didn't hear anybody at that point, so I'm going to assume we have unanimous approval of the minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Next order of business is correspondence. Correspondence received 3/2 through 3/13. So again, we continue to receive quite a bit of correspondence from people, which is fantastic. I'm going to talk about that in a minute in my chair report as well. But please, if you haven't already, take the time to review those comments, questions, concerns from community members, as especially moving forward. That's going to be an important way for us to keep everybody engaged and keep hearing everybody's thoughts on the process as we move forward. So as we move into reports, I just wanted to do a very quick comment in lieu of everything that's going on and the circumstance that we're in today. So obviously we're in a very unique and challenging time, and we sit here today with many questions and concerns, I think, regarding potential impacts to this project. So this statement is really specific to our FHS building project and how we move forward from here at this point in time. So really, I think our best course of action is to continue to execute against our planned timeline within reason and assess information as it's received. So we do have a lot of questions that we don't know answers to yet, but that's okay. I think we can keep moving forward to the best of our ability. And this includes holding virtual meetings if possible, as we're trying tonight, planning responsibly, and continue to focus on open communication. So we're going to do everything in our power to be able to do that. We're asking our Farmington community members to stay engaged via the website and social media outlets. Please continue to provide comments via our online comment form that you can access right off the website. Again, we will continually evaluate our actions for effectiveness in the circumstance, so we will determine, was this a good use of our time tonight as far as the technology is concerned, and you know, does this work for us moving forward? So we're going to evaluate that, and it's really in response to our current environment, and we'll make adjustments accordingly. So we'll have some conversations on what works best, and you know, are meetings effective? Should we cancel? Should we not cancel? Those things as we hear more and find out more information. We appreciate the patience of the community as we work closely with town services and town council to keep progress moving forward. And this is just challenging, and I think we can all acknowledge that. Obviously, the safety of everyone is of utmost concern, so we will keep that at top of mind. But I think for us, our best approach here is we keep moving forward with the timeline that we've set, and do that to the best of our ability and evaluate as we hear more. So that's kind of my thoughts around how we move forward from here. You're going to hear about some of those adjustments as we work through some of the report. But is there anything any questions or concerns that anybody has at this point? You can raise your hand.
I don't see anyone raising their hand, so.
Okay. I think, you know, it's pretty much common sense at this point, but again, let me know if you have any concerns as we go along. So I think the first order of business is communications subcommittee report. I can provide some context on that, and as well as some of the new business items, and then we can, oh, Garth has a question.
Okay, unmuted, Garth.
I raised my hand just because I wanted to make sure it worked. Sorry.
Okay, thank
late.
you, it worked.
A little late. All right, bring a little levity to the situation. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Garth. Okay, so I think for the communications subcommittee report, and I'm going to ask Sharon, hopefully, I see Sharon on the list, but I'm not sure if she's connected to audio. We'll have to give her a shot here in a second, but to talk more about neighborhood communications and next steps and how we proceed there. But we did have a communications subcommittee meeting and talked a little bit about next steps. And one of the biggest topics of conversation is something we're going to discuss here in the new business section, which is the bringing on Tall Timbers marketing firm for marketing support. And I will discuss that in more detail when we get into new business, because that was a topic of conversation on our subcommittee meeting, and that's why, based on that subcommittee conversation, we were able to receive approval in that meeting to bring this request forward for vote to the total committee tonight. It was a very important piece of business, and one reason that we did want to actually have the meeting tonight. So again, I'll provide more detail about that, but we also did talk about additional video work that we're going to do. I don't know, Scott, would you be willing to kind of give us a quick update or thoughts around what we were going to do with Costa?
Sure, I'd be happy to do so.
Unmuted.
I think I'm all set now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, great. Yeah, so we're in the process of reaching out. When we went to the state, what seems about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, one of the questions we asked is whether Costa would be interested or able to answer some questions regarding the reimbursement process via video. He agreed to do so. Obviously, the current conditions make it a little bit tougher to pull that off. Nonetheless, we're gonna offer that out since he's agreed to do so, and that'll give him a chance to explain to the community in a little bit better terms how the reimbursement process works and what the outlook is for our community here in Farmington.
Kat, did you want to add anything regarding communications subcommittee?
I think some things are on hold until we get Tall Timbers on board. We were working on a newsletter, but we're going to have them kind of review it and move forward. And then the survey, which is also another item on tonight's agenda, to do a town-wide survey again likely in May. So I think that's everything.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? You can go ahead and raise your hand if you have any thoughts or anything you want to share at this point. Okay. All right. Next report was for Neighborhood Communications Subcommittee. So we actually did have our very first meeting around neighborhood communications. It was actually a really productive meeting. Sharon, are we hearing Sharon speak? I can't tell. Looks like I don't see her connected to audio.
I don't see an audio either. Meg, do you want to give the update then?
Yep, I can do that. So really what we had here was our first planning meeting talking about what we wanted to do around neighborhood communications. Sharon was super helpful in providing some context, as well as some of the other participants in the meeting around what some of the concerns are, and it's specific to the impacted neighbors surrounding the high school at this point. So our focus initially from neighborhood communications will be around what we're calling directly impacted neighborhoods, which is the Highlands and that whole neighborhood directly surrounding the municipal campus. So we talked about those concerns and put a plan in place for us to do some outreach and communication, which would include an actual invitation that would go out to everyone in the affected neighborhood for a meeting, at least to receive initial information and have a presentation that both CSG and TSKP were going to put together for us on questions that we already know that people have. And the thought process here was to come up with a presentation that would answer as many questions that we are aware of right now so that we can get people level set and then hear additional concerns and thoughts that we can then move forward from that point. So that was our thought process. We were going to regroup. I think it was next week to review that information and then actually have the neighborhood communication meeting the last week in March. Due to the circumstances that we have, this is one of those areas where we are going to need to be flexible. So that plan, as far as actually having a actual meeting for the neighbors to come and participate in, will be put on hold. At this point, I think we have some other options. So what I'd like to see is that we maybe we can still have a virtual meeting of this subcommittee to talk about what can we do as far as maybe a flyer or additional information that we can get out to neighbors so that we're not postponing that connection and the communication indefinitely. We want to get them engaged and hear concerns as soon as possible, but do that in a way, obviously, that is safe and that meets all the requirements. So I think we've got a good plan. We heard a lot of great concerns. And I don't know, maybe I can ask Mark as well to kind of give his input on some of the thoughts and some of the experiences they've had in the past, CSG has had in the past, and how that plays into our overall plan here.
Let's see. How do I wave
You're
my hand?
unmuted.
Okay, there we go. Mark Arilli. Hi. Yes, of course. So we had a really good meeting, and we talked about a lot of concerns that the folks in the Highlands may have, mostly concerning, their property line, the access drive. Things we're going to focus on are things like traffic patterns, different times of the day, even things like dumpster locations, pickup, drop-off, all would impact the neighbors through sound and visual. We're going to want to talk a little bit about the trees and the buffer lines, the distance between the access drive, what the access drive might look like, what changes might happen to it. Some of the things that we've been successful with in communicating with tools, and we're going to ask TSKP to help with this, is put together some sight lines. So some cross sections of the plan. So just a line through the site plan that might show an area where visually, if someone's standing in their backyard, what their sight line might be through the trees to the building, or what the headlights, the impact of headlights in the evening might be. So you can show the spread of light. Same thing with the external lights, any light poles, those kinds of things that might affect their day-to-day life. We looked at some of the questions that have come up in the past with abutting neighbors are things like around demolition and abatement. I have small children, should we be concerned about environmental issues during their process, et cetera, et cetera. So what's construction staging going to look like, phasing of the project, duration, how long should we expect this to happen, those kinds of things.
Great, thank you, Mark. Anybody have any questions? Again, there's more to come on this, where we'll kind of make some adjustments to our planning and figure out what timing looks like and what we can do in the meantime. Okay. Next report, and Kat, I'm hoping you can start this one out. I was there, but had to leave early for Financial Communications Subcommittee and that conversation and kind of next steps there.
Yeah, so we met last week.
Hold on. Michael's got his hand up. Michael Scott.
Oh, okay. Let me unmute you, Michael. I don't see an audio for Michael. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Hold on. For some reason, it's not unmuting. Give me a second. Okay.
Did you do Michael Scott or Michael Smith?
I don't see an audio for Michael Scott.
He had his hand up, I think was who it was. Michael Smith, you're good, right? No questions right now?
Yeah. I'll chat Michael Scott, see what.
Yeah, maybe that's why he has his hand up, or had his hand up.
Okay, so last week we met for the Financial Communications Subcommittee. We discussed, once we have a final number, how we're going to roll that out and put context around it so that the community can understand the financial impact. Again, that's really once we have that solid number, because we've thrown out a few numbers previously, and we want to make sure that the final number we have and we're communicating that clearly. We also talked a little bit about illustrating how now is a good time from a financial standpoint, from debt coming off standpoint. So we have some communication tools that we're going to be reviewing and working on that'll hopefully support that message and put it out to the public that now we have this financial. Yeah, it's a good time because debt is coming off, that we can have the capacity to put a project online. So, did I miss anything? Meg, is that good?
I think so. It sounded to me, I think we were able to share, as you said, an example of some communication that might hit some of the marks that we're looking for. Again, I think as we get into our new business discussion, I think we can talk about how we can get support around that messaging as well. So I think it was definitely a good start to those conversations. Anybody else from that meeting want to provide any other comments or thoughts? Okay. All right. So I think, sorry. Getting texts from people too, just making sure we get everybody covered here. So next item of business is actually the architect report. So hopefully we can get an update. One of the things we had talked about last time, again, was just kind of a general update as to what's been happening around additional changes, thoughts around the design, as well as a highlight around some external questions. So I think we should be all set. I'm assuming that's going to be Michael Scott who's going to drive that conversation. I don't know if he needs to share screen or if there's a presentation specifically for us.
Right, so we should.
There is a presentation. I just unmuted Michael Scott. He has the ability to share his screen, so we're going to try that. If not, I have it queued up and ready to go. So,
Perfect.
Michael, if you could share your screen with it.
Yeah, I can't. While you are sharing yours.
Okay, I'll share it and then give you control.
Sounds good.
Okay, is the presentation up? Can everyone see that?
Okay.
We're getting a terrible echo.
It has nothing to do with
I think it does. Yeah, that's where the noise was coming through.
Oh, my.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can.
It's the volume issue.
Yeah, it's our volume.
Hang on.
Yeah, I just got a text from Matt Ross. He's saying, whoever's in the room with you, mute or turn off speakers or turn the volume down.
Hang on. Let's see devices. There's microphone.
It looks like it's better now.
I can barely hear you. This is Richard at TSKP. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Bear with us.
I don't know why it's so low right now. Evidently, they're hearing us fine.
All right, we don't hear you very well, but if you can hear us fine, we'll just continue with our presentation. We are in our conference room in Hartford, Michael and I and Taisu, and you should be seeing a screen with our presentation on it. So we would like to continue with the discussion about the exterior elevations. This was a question that was brought up at the last committee meeting to see some options that we had examined. And so what I would like to do in a minute is ask Taisu to walk us through the sketch work that was done in our office during the competition phase. And then we could ask you to give us your comments either here this evening or later through some sort of shared Google Doc. So I'm going to ask Taisu to speak, and if you don't hear us, you should interrupt us. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just try something. You can go ahead and start, Tyson. Oh, there we go.
All right, I think we figured it out. So Taisu is going to talk now and walk us through our exterior design during the competition. So Taisu?
Okay, hello, this is Taisu Kim, TSKP. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to proceed. I know this is unusual way to making visual presentation, but basically we're showing pictures. So I think pictures speak itself, so it will be okay. I'm going to show you first a little first sketch, study of elevations, and then followed by we come to consensus final elevation, and then we have about 3 exterior perspective and some examples of our building. So that's a sequence I'm going to go through. I'm going to go relatively quickly. What we are looking for from you is input about your comments, and after we receive your inputs, and then we proceed with the further study exterior and finalize schematic design. So that is our plan. So we are really looking from you some of your comments. So let me start. First, we did a number of quick sketches, not only my sketch, but other architects here did a sketch of various different ideas of classroom buildings and the gym and auditorium sites. So if you see this picture, the lower part is a study of a classroom. The upper part is entrance to public after school hour, and then right-hand side is the music area, and the left side is the gym area. Next. This is study up front. There's a number of different options of tower, stair tower. I think the stair tower is the really most key element of your school. So this study shows the different stair tower and entrance. And then right-hand side is 3 stories high classroom building, and left side is primary offices, and lower level is administrations, and upper level is
The counseling.
Counseling,
Right.
Counseling, and some other offices. So trying to make some kind of balance between classroom and office area, and upper sketch shows office much more glass, but it felt it's too much like office building. Next. This is again study. Lower part is the entrance side of elevation study. It's more glass and glass tower, and upper part is the right-hand music area, and left side is the gym and primary gym area, in middle, that's after our public interest. Next. So we did various different studies, different architect here. You studied the bottom one, you see maybe different kind of steel tower, more of a solid brick and a series of punched window, and left side is primary office area breaking up, and again various sketches of different parts of the school. Next. So from that, we kind of agreed on some direction, and so this is a much more finer elevation. So bottom one is the main entrance, the right-hand side, main entrance and glass a tower, and the right-hand side is the 3 stories high classroom building. Left side is the low-level administration, and upper level is counseling level. So we thought this of some movement of windows and horizontal line, and seems balancing well classroom building side and office building, office block side. And you see a bump up there, brown color, that is the upper part of the auditorium. Auditorium will be almost 3 stories high. So that's why you see that block there. Upper part is elevation of classroom from east side. That's from neighboring side. So you see the left end and classroom block, and in the middle glass that's looking out to outdoor dining area. So it's a really transparent all the way through the cafeteria and media and right through the public entrance from the west side. And then next block is again same classroom building block, and you see elevation that has showing the louvers, because it's the east side, so we're introducing vertical and horizontal louvers to break up the elevation, and this louver will help greatly to control the light. The right hand 2 stories high building, that's a low level is tech classroom, and upper level is art classroom. So we thought we should treat that building block differently from classroom building, and also I think light control with a vertical louver will be much better to controlling very large glass to this building block. And you see again broken up the glass connector between these 2 buildings. Next, let me start from upper elevation, and in the middle you see a large glass area. That's the entrance to cafeteria, multi-purpose room after school hour. In the right-hand side, we have a black box theater, and then large music room, and right side is this chorus room. And let's move to the left side. You see a large glass at the bottom floor. That's the fitness room. Do we call fitness room?
Weight room.
Weight room, okay. Weight room. And then after that, we have a gymnasium, 2 stories high gymnasium. And then you see toward left, you see a loading dock area, and then 2 stories high, the support facility. Actually, low level is mechanical, custodial, upper level is primary special ed space. Okay, let's go to the lower elevation. You see in the middle that Main Street, north end of Main Street, and the left side of that grass, Main Street grass, is the tech and art classroom. And then right-hand side is a first floor, is mechanical and custodial. Upper level is a special ed area. And then you see the loading area at the corner, well hidden at the corner, and then high window entire length of gymnasium. So it's a north light, so it's a very ideal natural light coming into gymnasium. So these are the one really drew from our sketches, and now we really have to further study carefully each elevation, and after we drew this elevation, it may look a little bit too austere or one material, so we may introduce some different colors and different material to the elevations. Let me move toward perspective. You saw this before, this rendering, and main entrance is next to glass tower stair, and on the right hand side you see a two 3 stories high classroom building block, and we're going to show you rendering from that angle, so how that space look like. That's and then the other end you see a 2 stories high primary office facade. You see, and then there is a 900 building, and we have a rendering showing how it look like from one end, the relationship between this 900 building and this proposed building. So let me move on to the rendering. This you saw main entrance and glass tower, and right hand side 3 stories high classroom building, and Lubo's left hand side into 2 stories high office block. We really have to study a lot more carefully about this tower, glass tower, with the glass tower is the right proposal, or we should do some different way. So we're going to study that, and also this classroom with how we're going to study more details, and the left side also is windows relation to inside room and elevations. Next. Okay, well, why don't you, okay, yeah, this is the model you saw before, so we're just gonna show you rendering. We're going to show first one is this one, okay?
No,
And
first one is.
Okay, first one is that one, and second one is from the eastern side. Let's look at the first one. Okay, so you see left side, that's the entrance of 900 wing, and we are using existing entrance as a new central office and border bed office. So you see relationship. There is a really nice space between this two buildings, and I think scale and relationship is very satisfactory. You see the driveway between these two going the track field and parking rear side. You see in the between these two building blocks there's a entrance to public multi-purpose room cafeteria area. You see the low level glass of bar theater and large band music room and choir room. And then you see this corner weight room, and then beyond that is a gymnasium. So I think the relationship seems very good. Next. Okay, this is the rendering from this. You remember we are proposing about 6 feet high boom to screening from neighbor, and that is the boom. You're seeing from there, looking at the classroom building, and you see 2 classroom building block, and between that 2, we have an outdoor dining area, and so this is a quieter area, yet I think it can be very well used as an outdoor dining and outdoor activity area. And this perspective shows with this boom and evergreen planted on top of it will be well screened from neighbor, and that the end where the last building block is the view of 2 stories high tech and the art building. So I think this combination, I'm very pleased relationship with this 2 classroom building block and that tech building, last one. Okay, next.
Sorry. This was just for reference.
Oh, okay. This is site plan. And this is reference, and I'm just going to remind you what we showed rendering-wise from the bottom. You saw that facade, and then the last one we showed you from that, so you see 2 classroom building block and broken with this glass and outdoor dining area, and then the last one is the brown color. That's the tech at the bottom and the art second floor. That's what you saw. Okay, I'm going to show you some of our work and just comment on what we like to study further. This is Guilford. It's a music wing and gymnasium, locker rooms and so on, and that glass area is a main entrance, not main entrance to multi-purpose area after school hour. So I'd like to make this a little more animated, and maybe we can add some color at the bottom, different materials, so that it's not so austere. Next. This is a classroom building block, and we learned from this. It is quite austere building block. As we saw elevation, we introduced horizontal lines breaking up 3 levels, and also very robust vertical and horizontal sunscreen, and that really makes the texture of the outside much more richer than this building. Next. This is another building in West Hartford and using different colors mixed area. We might introduce some of our lighter color to some portion of the building. Next. This is a building in West Hartford, American a School of Deaf, and they're pushing the glass back so that profile of the building has much more three-dimensional effect. We might use some of this method to making elevation much more richer textures. Next. This is a school in Bristol, and example of glass tower with a vertical masonry on one side. Next. This is example of not just one color throughout the building, but two colors. You can see middle administration area, library administration area is much more lighter orangish color, and then left side and right side is much deeper colors. And this is not a brick material. This is what do you call it?
Terracotta. It's a terracotta rain screen.
Yeah.
So it's not brick.
Yeah. I'll show you detail. There's a detail next. Okay, here's a detail of it's like about what 6 inches about 48 inches long. It's a quite large piece, and you see some lot more deeper louver, horizontal and vertical louvers combined with this color. So certainly we should talk about whether material is brick or we can afford this terracotta, because terracotta will be a little more expensive. So those are some of our thoughts, and I really like to welcome your comment so we can move forward and further refine our elevation studies. I think that is my last slide.
So I do want to, this is Richard, so I do want to go back to a slide that showed a dotted line. So one of the questions that was raised at the earlier building committee meeting, the last meeting, was how would we expand the building? And what we believe the best approach is to plan here at the northern end of the building, near where we have the service entrance and we have the service areas. We could build a second or even a third floor above this mechanical area and special ed area. So that area that we outlined here in red dotted line is about the area of one classroom learning community. And so it's very easy to expand that into two learning communities here at the northern end of the building without significant change to the site plan. So that would be our strategy for expanding the building. So that formally concludes our presentation about the exterior, but we did want to throw this slide in, which we'll include in future slide presentations to the community. So we're looking to you for your comments.
We cannot hear them.
Okay, so I think
We cannot hear you at all.
everybody is muted, so I just have to take control of the screen to unmute them. Give me a second.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So if I can just try something here.
So if anybody has a question for TSKP, if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you.
Sorry about that.
No, we can hear you well.
Questions right now.
All right, Garth, you're unmuted.
I was waiting for someone else to start, but guess I'll start with the comments, and hopefully it'll open up other people to comment as well. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. So I hope everyone can.
Okay, right. You're the only one that got me on unmuted. I would say that the drawings, I think that the building does look a lot better from a street view than from above, at least in my opinion. So when I keep on seeing the above views, as Johnny was alluding to last time, it looks very, I don't want to use it seems like a slap, but a little bit more like a parking garage as far as the right-hand side from the front. So, and I think the last comments that I made, which I'm not sure if it was relayed to you guys, but I would like to see a mixture of materials. Perhaps, I don't really like, I mean, this is just me speaking. Others can chime in, but the orange, I'm not a huge fan of orange in buildings. So if it could be something else, more of a stone-like, I think I would love to see kind of a mix of materials breaking up some of the, I know the horizontal you have, but that's, I know that's kind of where buildings are going towards with being very modern, but I'm trying to be kind of a mix of modern, but also try to bring in some really nice traditional materials with some different massing that might just be, just an options. And I know that you guys haven't shown options yet as far as, I appreciated all the steps to get to where you have been. I know it's not an easy step. But I do like that you did all the perspective from the 900 wing to the new building. I think that's great. I'm much happier with how that's going to look from a street view and how people are going to view it walking and passing through. I think that's great. I do like the other drawings that you had in with the glass tower. I like the glass tower, and I think it's definitely something you need for a visual impact as you can enter the building. But I think it's more the right side that's bothering me from the front. That's just me. Again, you guys can, but it does look better from the street view than it does look from above. So I think that's the areas, and maybe again, maybe a horizontal beam or pattern on the bottom part of the building. I do like having some of the mixture of some of your drawings you showed with the heavier touch of horizontal pattern, whether that be masonry pattern or different color of materials and things like that. So I think I've given you guys enough chatting. Maybe someone else could take over for me if there's anything that anyone would like to see or agreement or disagreement or things like that. So I'll sign off.
Anyone else have any comments? If you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you.
Kat, in the interim, could you go to page 10?
Yep.
Oh, how about 11? There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Questions?
There's a few in the chat, Kath.
Oh, Sorry, guys. Johnny said, I like the thought process behind area for expansion. It works well with the flow and looks forward. Michael Smith asks, are there options for the elevations?
Can I respond? This is Richard. So I appreciate the comments from Garth. I think he's right that the aerial perspectives are not flattering, that the pedestrian or ground level perspectives are much more appropriate and show the character much better. I also understand his reluctance to use orange. That's a personal preference. But I also understand that he prefers to see a variety of materials, perhaps some different colors. So we can certainly try that.
Yeah.
And we can get back to you on that. So I know it may take a little bit of time for people to think about what they saw and respond. So I would welcome your comments after this evening's meeting. That's what I wanted to say. I understand what Garth was trying to say.
I did get another comment from Michael Smith. I would echo Garth's comments that we should consider other materials.
Understood.
Any other comments that the committee wants to either send through chat or raise their hand, and I will unmute you. Doesn't. Oh, Johnny Carrier says, having visited the Green Hill School, I would prefer traditional brick. And Sharon says, I agree as well with using other materials.
That sounds like it's pretty overwhelming. Okay, that's good.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Kat, what was, I know you read Michael's comment. I'm not sure around the options for the elevations. Did he get what he was looking for, or is there something else?
Yeah, Richard, are there options for the elevations that you would be able to provide?
Sure. If Michael, you can articulate a little bit more by what options you might be interested in.
Here he is right here.
Alternative ways of treating shading for the windows.
Can we go to slide, this is Michael Scott, Kat, can we go to slide 12, please? Thank you.
So one of the things that is quite different in the examples that we showed you is the depth of the windows at the American School for the Deaf, which creates a greater, deeper shadow, for example. That might be something that we could look at, but that will take a little bit of work.
We also do have a Google document that was set up for the committee members. If you're going through this and you have any questions for the architects as well, we have that to be able to have them in one place, and we'll share that with them. So if you guys think of anything else after this meeting, that's the place to put it there. All right, should we move on to the next item, Meg?
I think so, if nobody has any other questions. At this point, looks like we should be good, but as Kat mentioned, please, as you're looking through it or as you're thinking through things, I do agree, I really like some of these views, and it's, I think, things that we can use moving forward as well for additional communication, but please put questions in that Google Doc. And Kat can make sure that gets distributed out to everybody again too, just so you have the link. Okay, next report is owner's rep report. So this would be Chris and Mark.
All right, Mark, you're unmuted.
Okay, Mark, really, the couple things just really quickly, and it's more of general comments. We did meet again last Monday with our design team. We hit on a lot of things. We did some big picture items really quickly, but predominantly focused on programming and some of the big picture items that we still need to work through are getting our meetings together, and Kat is working on an option to meet with town officials. All of these things play into our schedule and getting TSKP the information they need to sort of put new budget numbers to this so that we can come up with our cost saving ideas, make sure that we're hitting everything so that we're preparing for our next town council meeting. So we'll work a little bit on revising that schedule. Obviously, with everything that's going on, changes our approach, but certainly does not change our availability to do so. I think that was probably the biggest thing that I just wanted to highlight that hadn't been addressed at the meeting yet.
And Mark, I'm sure you guys will be, obviously we received some, communication from the state around number of people attending meetings, things like that, but you'll be our touch point on anything coming out of changes based on state scheduling and all that stuff too, right?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. We have not heard anything out of the Office of School Construction Grants. Not sure that, for example, not sure that the deadlines will change. Still trying to figure out how they're going to plan to continue as things change daily.
Perfect. Looks like Michael Scott's got a question.
All right,
Yes.
Michael, you're unmuted.
Actually, this is Richard. The question really is for Mark Garilli regarding the next town council meeting. I have on my calendar, I believe, a meeting to update the town council on budget March 24th, which is pretty soon. I'm not sure if we're still on target for meeting that town council meeting or not. We had at one point talked about updating the town council in March. Are we still on track for that?
That town council meeting was canceled last week at their budget meeting, and their next meeting is scheduled for April 7th. This is Kat, by the way, also. But that April 7th meeting, we're getting some guidance from the state regarding the budget process and what we can do. Obviously, we're trying to hold as many meetings online as possible so that we minimize large gatherings of people. So TBD on that, but I think we should strive to, if there's no more March meetings in town council, as soon as we can in April.
All right, thank you, Kat.
All right, Mark, anything else for your report?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, Meg, should we move on to new business?
Yep, I'm just going to pull up my document here. Bear with me a second. Okay, so the first order of new business we have is in regard to tall timbers. Hold on, I just want to pull up my document here. So what I'm going to do is ask for a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a contract with Tall Timbers Marketing for marketing support.
All right, I unmuted for a motion and a second.
So moved.
On. Second.
So,
Okay.
Could you let me know who made? Could you let me know who made those motions?
That was Michael.
All right, thanks, guys. So we'll move right into discussion. So I just want to as the note states in the agenda packet.
So we'll move right into discussion.
Now I've got feedback. You guys good?
Yep, I'm muting as quick as I can.
Sorry, Kat, I could have gave you a second.
It's okay. Okay, we're good.
All right, so based on the note that's included in the packet, I'm just going to read this and I'll go into some more detail, but multiple firms submitted quotes and we did some phone interviews for marketing support. The information that we have that we're actually going to talk to you today about is from Tall Timbers Marketing. It's a Connecticut-based firm that has extensive experience with school bonding referenda. The fees for this service will not exceed $35,500 and includes, so this is not only the services, but it will include the creation, printing, and mailing of 3 building committee newsletters. So just to give you a little context around this conversation, we have heard from in multiple meetings, I think prior to this one around, that we see great benefit in bringing experts on board, obviously, to help us make decisions and move our process forward. And we heard several times, I think, not only in public comment, but I think even from building committee members, that one of the things we thought we needed support on was specifically around messaging. And the goal of that would be to make sure that we are providing information in the right way to the right people so that they can make informed decisions. And that's really our goal here. We obviously have a large focus on communications, not only on coming up with a good solution for this effort, one that's comprehensive, but also being able to let people know what the benefits of that solution are for them and for the community as a whole. When we looked at that, we really said, we probably do have a gap in what our capabilities are as a committee. And I was able to kind of research and see if we had some opportunities to talk to some people. There were multiple firms, as I said, 2 firms that we talked to specifically focused on referendum work. So that was, I think, a very important part of this process, that it wasn't just a general marketing firm we were looking for. We're looking for people that have helped referendums with communication specifically and know how to communicate information like this out to community members so that they have a clear understanding of what a referendum looks like, what they're voting on, and what it means to them and to the town. And in doing that, we shared that information with the communications subcommittee, and I can see if anybody has any comments on that conversation. But in doing that, we really looked and saw that Tall Timbers, I think, was a great match for us. Again, they're a local firm. They have a lot of experience. You can go right on their website and actually look through and see the experience that they do have in working on these kind of efforts. Thought this was a great value and a fit for us, would be a great addition to our team, somebody that would be sitting at the table with us during all these communication conversations and help us with messaging, everything from the neighborhood communications to the financial communications, newsletters, surveys, anything we need support on. And as you can see, that's the maximum fee that we'd be looking for from Tall Timbers based on their proposal. And that is including that output of those 3 committee newsletters. As I'm sure you are all well aware, one of the largest expenses we have around communication is printing and distribution, and we want to make sure we get something in households multiple times into every household to make sure they have the information they need. So that's kind of the background and summary of the process. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts around that, or feelings, anything else you need to know, or
Johnny says, does this fit within our committee budget? Yes, we have money for this. I'll put together the latest financial report, but we definitely have enough funds for it. We also had budgeted just a rough estimate of doing 3 newsletters anyway, which was about $16,000–17,000 on its own. So to get that plus the services for marketing and messaging all in one is a great use of our money. Oh, TSKT has some comments, so I'm going to unmute them. Thank you, guys. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, hi, this is Richard Zivik again. I think the committee should consider using the term communication support instead of marketing support, just to be clear to members of the public that the funding of this effort is for communications facts and figures.
Fair comment. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
A lot of agreeing online. So the chat, Michael, Garth, and Johnny all agree. Any other comments from the committee?
Okay. All right, if that ends discussion, at this point, we will then take a vote. Sorry, Kat. Oh, wait.
Sorry, I just unmuted everyone for the vote.
Okay. So all in favor to authorize the town manager to provide a contract for Tall Timbers Marketing for marketing support? I got that up.
Aye.
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 Okay. All opposed?
All opposed?
Okay.
Nope.
Fantastic. We'll, we unanimously approved then. We will go ahead and authorize that and start that process immediately to bring Tall Timbers on board. So you will certainly start to see much more activity around that. In addition, you will see website support surrounding this. So just a lot of communications help overall, I think, is really going to be beneficial for us. Okay. Next order of business. So again, I'm going to ask for another motion to authorize the town manager to sign a contract with the Center for Research and Public Policy to conduct a survey.
This is Ellen. Motion.
Is there a second?
This is Michael. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? So again, just to give a little context, actually, Kat, you might be better to provide the context on this one. I think you do a better job than me on this one.
Okay. So this is to have a second town-wide survey with the Center for Research and Public Policy. If you remember, in October of 2018, the FHS ad hoc committee for the survey did this survey. We felt it was important to use, and this was brought to the communications subcommittee, to use the same firm so that we can see exactly how attitudes have shifted, how our messaging has been affected, and we can really get a sense of where the community is now. They conduct this over the phone. They have a whole methodology and scientific approach to it to make sure that we get a true sample size and a true feeling of the community. So this would be for them to do a second survey. We would work with the communications subcommittee. Town Council Chair CJ Thomas has been added to that subcommittee for the survey and do the questions in April. In May, the survey would be out in the field. They informed me today they are getting a great response rate because people are home right now, so that's a positive spin on this. And then we would have results in by the beginning of June. Are there any questions or comments about this survey? And again, this is, the fee for this survey is the same as it was last time, which is $17,000.
I don't know if Beth, just because she was an integral part of the last survey team, wants to add anything around the benefit of this and what it means for us.
Beth, you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to say the work we did way back when, was that almost a year ago now, with this firm. They were really top notch, and I think they'll offer a lot to helping us kind of see where we're at this phase. So I'm glad we can do this.
Thanks, Johnny. Any other comments or thoughts around this? Or discussion?
In the chat, Johnny said, agree with Beth.
Yeah.
So anyone else have comments? If you want to chat them or raise your hand. Yep. Oh.
Okay, all right, so based on that, let me get this out quick before you unmute, Kat. So we have all in favor to authorize the town manager to sign a contract with the Center for Research and Public Policy to conduct a survey.
Maybe I think it might be easier if everybody just chats me or chats the group.
Okay.
Just because we get a lot of feedback and it's hard to hear everybody. So if you want to chat to the panelists to give your vote.
Michael Smith just had a quick question here about will and I'm assuming, Michael, you're referring to the whole building committee versus the, the survey specific portion of the communications subcommittee approve the questions. How did you handle that last time? Was that a full committee discussion or was it brought to the committee for review?
The ad hoc survey committee did all of the questions. And I think the intent this time is to have everybody, the communications subcommittee do the questions. It won't be that different from the ones we've already established, because again, a lot of them are to help us benchmark where we were in 2018 to where we are now. So I think the intent is to keep it at the communications level for the questions.
Okay.
Has everybody had a chance to vote?
I'm in favor. I didn't write a comment, but this is Megan.
All right, so we have in favor from Garth, Johnny, Ellen, Michael, and Johnny.
Yeah. Do we have Sharon?
Sharon, yep.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So based on that, it looks like we unanimously passed to authorize town manager to sign a contract with Center for Research and Public Policy to conduct a survey. So obviously more to come. These last two new business items were specifically around our communications focus, so I think we're headed in the right direction there. Any other comments or thoughts at this point prior to adjournment?
Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us as we have this.
Anybody have any thoughts on the technology use? Are we willing to stick with this for meetings moving forward?
It'll go a lot next time, I promise.
Okay. Yeah, Michael has a yes there. I think it's a good way for us to at least stay connected, share presentations. I know it gets a little bit, good job getting this done. I agree, Kat. Thank you very much for doing that. Thank you, Michael Scott, as well. I think we're all trying our best here. Kat pulled this together for us in a very short amount of time, trying to get the technology up and running and trying to keep people engaged. For those attendees who are on the line that can hear us at this point, please, again, bear with us in this process. And please submit questions, comments online using our form on the website. The best way to reach us at this point. And you know, in lieu of public comment, it's a little hard for us to manage that. But we appreciate your patience with us as we move forward.
It looks like we have a motion to adjourn from Johnny and a second from Garth already.
There we go. You're already done with me? That was fast. Like, Megan, just enough, please. All right, perfect. That sounds good. All in favor, just type in the box for us, please.
All right, I think we're good.
All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will certainly be in touch over the next couple weeks.
Thank you, everyone.